Hello everyone, a very warm welcome to this video. In this video, we are going to talk about how do you set up these 4 machines and install Hadoop. So far what we've done in this video is we went to Amazon, we rented 4 machines which had 8 GB of RAM, we connected to those machines, we installed Java and MySQL. The next step is we are supposed to install Hadoop on them. But before that, it's important that each one of the machines should have a host name so that we could identify it by a host name, as well as these machines should be identifying each other by host names. The importance of host names in real world also is that in case a machine goes down and if it comes back with a different IP address, typically Hadoop would not recognize it. But if you have host names, Hadoop would have no complaint. So now what we are going to do is let's first give each and every machine a host name, and let's make sure that they are connected via host name so that we can easily identify them and then start the setup. So step number 1, let's start giving them host name. So let's first connect to each and every machine. So first we'll connect to Delhi. So here we go. Delhi is getting connected. So first step is giving the host name. So that's Delhi. Let's connect to the second machine, that's Mumbai, and give the name as Mumbai. Later we'll set up the host file. And as soon as you change the machine names, just restart the machines. Let's connect the third machine, that's Kolkata. And let's connect the fourth machine, that's Chennai. So let's restart the machines. init6 is the command to restart the machine. So let's reconnect. Now what you see is that we are logged in Delhi. And here we are in Chennai. Here we are in Kolkata. And here we are in Mumbai. Before we move any further, let's make sure that our IP addresses are correct. And based on that, we will create a host file. So let's do ifconfig. So it's 10.181.16.5. And here also we've given the same thing so that it's 16.5. For Mumbai, now this is important so that you don't get confused when you look at the UI. Should be 76.22. That's Mumbai for us. Kolkata is 104. It is 104. And Chennai is 235. 235. So all the 4 machines have a proper host name. Now all we need to do is that these machines should be able to identify each other with the same name. So what we do is we create a host file. And we will educate all the machines about each other. So this is Delhi. This is Mumbai. This is Kolkata. And here we have Chennai. Now the host entries are made to the file. We'll have to copy this file or the contents everywhere. Let's do it now. So all the 4 machines have the host entries. We can try it out now. We get a ping response from Mumbai. We get a ping response from Kolkata and ping from Chennai. So now all the 4 machines know each other by name. That's like the host name is set up. That's step 1 for us, that all the 4 machines now know each other. The next step is we will have to now educate our Unix box that we need to install Hadoop. So the command that we are going to run is yum install Hadoop. But let's understand this. What exactly is repository and what exactly are we trying to do here? When you install something on a Windows box, how do you do it? You open the browser, you look at an exe file, download it, double click and install it. When it comes to Unix, that's not really the case. In Unix servers, you don't really have a user interface. So what do you really do? You actually have a command like yum install wget. Yum install, basically that command will install something on CentOS or Red Hat, and apt get is a command that you use on Ubuntu. Now here what we are going to do is we are going to do yum install Hadoop. But before that, how will yum come to know where exactly is Hadoop? So we'll first have to educate yum that whenever we talk about Hadoop, please go to Cloudera's website. Let's demonstrate this. Let's first try installing Hadoop and let's see what error we get. So we say yum-y install hadoop-conf-sudo. And the error that you get is we don't have any package called Hadoop conf sudo. The reason is when you run this yum command, it actually goes to this location called as etc.yum.repos.d. As of now, there are all the 4 repositories that are pointing to CentOS. There is no repository who knows where exactly is Hadoop. In the next step, we will basically set up a new repository for Cloudera's Hadoop, and then we will install Hadoop and we'll see that Hadoop would get installed. So let's do that right now. So first, let's download the CDH distribution. So the command to run is wget. That's the power of wget. Wget. So on all 4 machines, we have downloaded the repository file. We've still not set up repository, but we've downloaded the repository file. Next, what we do is we install the repository file. Now that repository file is installed, let's press yes. So on all the 4 machines, repository file is installed. let's look at the repository location now. So you see a new file called Cloudera CTH. So let's quickly reiterate what we've done so far. We fired 4 machines and we've installed Java and Cloudera repository. It's now time to install Hadoop on all the 4 machines. So first we will install Hadoop on all the 4 machines. We will then set up configuration on all the 4 machines. Once we set up configuration on all 4 machines, then we'll set up directories, we'll format the name node, and we will have a 4 node cluster up and running, and we'll verify the cluster then. So that's our goal number 1. At the end of it, we should have a 4 node cluster completely up and running. So let's get going. So first step is, let's install Hadoop on all the 4 machines. So you see Hadoop is getting installed. So it's for Hadoop to basically figure out all the dependencies and install for us. We don't have to do anything. So while this process continues, let's run it on all the 4 machines. Should take a couple of minutes. So Hadoop is installed here. So Hadoop is installed here also. It's complete here. And it's at the very last step here. Now, on all 4 machines, Hadoop is installed. Out here, we are not interested in doing a single node setup. We are interested in making it a multi-node setup. So the next step we are supposed to follow is update the configuration files. So the 4 configuration files that we update is core site.xml, Hdfs site.xml, maprate site.xml, yarn site.xml. These are the 4 most important config files that Hadoop has. Core site.xml is there to educate users or the cluster who's the master. All the storage related configurations go to Hdfs site.xml. All the MapReduce related settings go to the maprate site.xml, and on the yarn related services or configurations go to yarn site.xml. It's time for us to basically update the configuration on all 4 machines. This is going to be a time consuming step. Once we update configurations on all the 4 machines, we will be ready to create the directories and set up the cluster. So let's do it. So the first file we are supposed to change is sudo vi etc hadoop conf code site.xml. Out here, what we are supposed to do is we'll be removing the settings that are out there and majorly have just one setting, which is fs default fs is Delhi 8020. So here in this case we can ignore to have other settings because we are not using any of these, so we can completely ignore to have these settings and just change one setting, which is fs default fs. Right now fs default fs is pointing to localhost 8020. We are interested in making it Delhi 8020 because what we need to educate every machine is that Delhi is the name node. Delhi is the name node. So we do that on all the 4 machines. So this is our way of educating all the 4 machines that Delhi is the name node on this cluster. Next in line, what we are supposed to do is we are first supposed to ensure that there are no localhost entries in codesite.xml. Any references to localhost should be removed. So let's search localhost, and what we find is the pattern is not there. So that's kind of safe for us that there are no localhost references in codesite.xml. Now that all the 4 machines in codesite.xml are pointing to Delhi 8020, it's time for us to now go to Hdfs site.xml, update the configurations of Hdfs site.xml on all 4 machines. Then we go to mapred site.xml and then yarn site.xml. So when it comes to Hdfs site.xml, these are the 2 major settings that we are interested in changing: DFS name node dir and DFS data node dir. Hdfs site.xml. So first, let's ensure that there are no localhost patterns. Not really required for this particular lab that we change the replication factor, but let's do this. Let's remove all the settings that are out there and let's focus on having settings that pertain to the replication factor 3. The next thing we are supposed to change is the name node dir. So these are all the defaults. In fact, let's replace all the defaults with what we want. So let's delete everything and then we'll just have name dir and data node dir. Rest, let's just have everything default. Okay, so it's our choice whether we want to keep everything or let it come from default and change what is important to us. Here we are interested in changing two things, name dir and data dir. So let's do that. For name dir, let's give the setting. Home disk1 dfs nn. So here we've decided to have two directories for name node, and let's have two directories for data node. Home disk1 dfs dn, home disk2 dfs dn. So here we have two directories that pertain to name node and data node, and let's be careful. Configuration tag ends here. So these are the two properties that we want to have. Let's copy these two properties in all four machines. So that would mean hdfs site.xml is complete. So let's delete it and let's put those two settings. So property file name node name dir. This is the directory where name node will store its brain, and dfs data node dir. This is the location where data node will store the blocks. This is where the data nodes will store the blocks. So this was hdfs site.xml. Let's update hdfs site.xml on this machine also. And what we see is mistake. Let's delete everything and let's bring in, let's put so let's go into insert mode and let's so you have name node and data node directory here also. The next machine that we are supposed to do this is Chennai. And let's ingest here. So all the 4 machines have Hdfs site.xml, which are perfectly done. The third file that we are supposed to talk about is mapred site.xml. So let's update mapred site.xml, then we update yarn site.xml. Once mapred and yarn site, both the files are updated, we are ready with the folder creation and testing the cluster. So let's go to the third file, that is yarn site, and then we'll go to the fourth one, which is mapred site. So when it comes to yarn site, an important point is that the resource manager is going to run on Kolkata. The resource manager is supposed to run on Kolkata machine. So let's put it. So mapred use shuffle and shuffle handler, we don't have to touch it. Yarn log aggregation, all perfect. We'll be changing the log directories. Let's do that. And we don't have to touch the yarn class path. So the first thing we are supposed to add is the resource manager hostname. So let's do that first. Value, and here the setting is yarn resource manager dot hostname. yarn resource manager dot hostname, and it's Kolkata. MapReduce shuffle need not be touched. The class names need not be touched. We need to just work on the local DIRs. The local DIRs. And the path we are supposed to give is home disk 1 node manager local. When it comes to the logs, where log Hadoop containers and apps, we are not supposed to touch them. Just worry about local DIRs. So here we go. File, home, disk 1 node manager, local. Home, disk 2 node manager local. So these are the only settings that we will be changing. The rest we have to leave everything the way it is. So let's copy this on all the machines right now. So let's first update the resource manager. So that's the resource manager host name. Now it's time to change the local directories. So let's just take this up and change it here. The value is updated here. So yarn site.xml is perfectly ready. Once we do it on both the machines here, it's time to go to mapred-site.xml. And once mapred-site.xml is done, we are comfortable with the fact that all our configurations are 100% done. So on all 4 machines, yarn site.xml is up and running. It's time to now focus on mapred site.xml. That's the last file for our configuration. That's the last file for our configuration. So let's do mapred site.xml. In mapred site.xml, what we are supposed to change is the framework name, the job history server address, and the staging directory. So we will ignore the job tracker. In fact, we are not using it, so we just delete this. Framework name has to be yarn. Now job history server address has to be Chennai. Job history server address has to be Chennai in both the cases. So simply make it Chennai. It's Chennai. We leave the temp directory, and we also need to now specify one more setting, that will be the staging directory. The staging directory. So it will be yarn app mapreduce am staging dir, which is user. So let's add that. So property tag, name, name, property, value, value. And here the setting that needs to be put is yarn app mapreduce, yarn app mapreduce dot application master staging -dir. Staging -dir, and the value is /user. /user. So this has to be copied on all the machines. So first things first, let's remove job tracker. Yarn is perfect. Chennai. So this is done on Mumbai. Time to go to Kolkata. Chennai. Chennai. And the final one, which is Chennai. So let's put map.site.xml here. Here it is, Chennai. And here we put the staging directory. As of this moment, all the 4 machines have configurations that we needed. Let's quickly look through each and every configuration and then we'll move to the next step. So the first file we updated is coursesite.xml. The intention of coursesite.xml was to educate everyone that name node is running on Delhi. So the setting is called as fs default fs, and this is our way of saying everyone that name node is running on Delhi. On Delhi, we'll be again updating Hdfs site.xml. Now the intention of Hdfs site.xml is to provide all the configurations that pertain to Hdfs site.xml. And there we've seen that name node directory is there. This is where the name node will store its metadata. Data node directory, that's where the data node will store its blocks. In yarn site.xml, we are educating this to the cluster that Kolkata will be the guy who will be running the resource manager, and we've left all the settings as specified, other than the fact that when mapper writes its output to the local file system, the file or the directory that it will use is home disk1 node manager local and home disk2 node manager local. Map.site.xml, you have everything default, just that Chennai will be running the job history server and the staging directories user. So this was all about the main configuration files. Along with that, we would like to change configuration files which are in Hadoop env.sh. This is the location where we will define the Java options. Okay, so let's do that. In fact, for this setup, you can very well leave them default. So here we can just leave them default, not to play with that. So let's just ignore it now. We have enough RAM on our machine, so it's okay. Then copy paste this configs on all 3 machines. We don't have to do that because we've already done that. As of this moment, all our machines have proper configuration. It's now time to create the directories that we committed. It's now time to create the directories that we committed. So let's create those directories. Let's create those directories and give the permissions. So what we've done is we've created disk 1 and disk 2. Within that we've created directories for name node and data node. It's now time to give permissions. Then we'll create node manager directory, give the permissions, and we'll have to do this step on all the 4 machines. So let's create these directories everywhere. But before that, let's give permissions. Once we've given the permissions, it will be very easy for us to. So we'll give Hdfs user permissions of home disk 1 dfs nn and so on and so forth. Chown So here we have successfully given permissions to Hdfs user for home disk 1 dfs dn, home disk 2 dfs dn, home disk 1 dfs nn, and home disk 2 dfs nn. Now let's give permission to the yarn users and repeat these steps on all the 4 machines. It's time to now repeat these commands on all the 4 machines, because each and every machine has the same configuration and they have committed to give the same folder locations for data node and node manager. So let's do that. And for the uniformity sake, we will have name node directories created on all the machines. It's time to give permission to disk 1 dfsdn. So at this moment we've given permissions on Mumbai for data node and name node. It's time to give those permissions for the yarn directories, that is node manager directories. At this moment, Mumbai and Delhi, they are completely done with the directory setup. It's now time to replicate this setup on Kolkata and then on Chennai. Let's do it on Kolkata. Let's do that simultaneously on Chennai. So at this moment on Chennai and Kolkata, we've set up Hdfs directories. It's time to set up yarn directories and then give permission. So let's do that on Chennai. It's time to give permissions. It's time to now give permissions to yarn. And as of now, all the 4 machines are completely ready from the ownership and from the location perspective. Now that all the 4 machines have configurations, all the 4 machines have directories that were to be created, it's now time to format the name node, start the name node service, start the data node service, create some directories, and then start the yarn services. Once yarn services are up, we'll have to create a simple user. Once we have a user created, it's time to run a MapReduce program. Being able to run a simple MapReduce program would validate the fact that our cluster is 100% up and running. 100% up and running. So let's get going. So on Delhi, we'll say so our name node has successfully got formatted. It's time to start name node and verify if name node has successfully come up or not. So let's do that. Let's first start name node. it's sudo service Hadoop Hdfs name node start. So it's trying to start the name node. Once name node has started, or it appears to be starting, we will have to verify if name node has been up or not. What we see is that the name node is up and running. After that, it's our job to bring the data nodes up on all the machines. It's our job to bring data nodes on all the machines. So let's do that. Along with that, we'll bring the secondary name node upon this machine, and then we'll verify the UI. So here what we see is that the secondary name node is appearing to be up and running. And when you do JPS, you see name node and secondary name node are completely up and running. It's now time to start data node on all the 4 machines and then verify if data node is running on all the 4 machines. Let's do that. So what we see is even data node is up and running. But that's not all. We'll have to set up, or we have to start data node on all 3 remaining machines and then verify the user interface if we are able to see these settings. So here we say sudo is not required. We are already logged in as root. We see data node is up and running. Here we see data node is up. Let's do it here. Sudo user java latest bin JPS. So right now data node is not running. Let's start data node. So at this moment with JPS, all the 4 nodes are up and running. Now, how to verify that from the user interface? We will see that all in a cluster walkthrough setup in the next particular lab or next particular video. So what we see right now is, so we will have a detailed walkthrough. All we need to do right now is just verify that on a public URL of Delhi, are we able to browse Hdfs or not. So let's take URL of Delhi and just say 50070. If you see the UI loading, that means the name node is up and running, and we'll verify the data nodes. In the next video, we'll have a detailed walkthrough. But right now what we see is that there are 4 live nodes. That's enough for us to verify that our Hdfs is 100% up and running. Our Hdfs is 100% up and running. So here we go. Next, it's time to basically set up yarn and try to run a simple MapReduce program. So let's create some directories that are required and let's perform our operations. So we've created a temp directory and we are making it accessible for everyone. Then we are creating where log Hadoop yarn and give that permission to yarn. And give that ownership to a user called yarn. So let's put a -p to make it work. So it's where log Hadoop yarn. So we've given permission of yarn directory to a user called yarn. It's now our job to create a user for ourselves so that we can run MapReduce programs, and here the permission should be given to user root and not training. So that's a mistake which you'll have to correct when you run your code. And then we will basically run the user history. We'll have to create a user history directory. So let's give permission to a user root. So we've created a directory called user root and we've given permission to a user called user root. Let's create a directory user history. And we are now supposed to give permission to a user called mapred. Now this will set the stage for starting resource manager and node manager. Once we are done with creating these directories, it's time to start the resource manager and node manager. So our resource manager is supposed to be Kolkata. So we are starting resource manager and we'll check if JPS command works and shows us resource manager. So we see resource manager. Next, what we are supposed to do is we are supposed to start job history server on Monkey, and we are supposed to start node manager on all 4 machines. So let's do that. So here we start the history server. Once we have the history server up and running, let's run the JPS command to be sure that it's all working fine. So that's job history server. Next, what we are supposed to do is we are supposed to start node manager on all 4 machines. So we are starting node manager on all the 4 machines. Once node manager starts, we'll have to run a JPS command. The next thing we are supposed to do is verify if resource manager UI has been up or not. So let's do that. Let's get Kolkata's public IP and let's go to port 8088. And what we see is that the resource manager loads successfully. As of now, we are just seeing one active node. We are just seeing one active node, that's Kolkata. So remaining nodes are yet to be appearing. So it's time for us to debug and check if something has gone wrong with our cluster. So this is a classical case where we were expecting to see 4 slaves, but we are only seeing 1 slave. The potential problem could be on each and every machine there is a config mistake which is preventing this to happen. And we see that there is a small spelling mistake. So that's one way of debugging issues. Spelling mistakes are the most common thing. So anytime something goes wrong, be sure that you check your spelling mistakes. We could not see 4 node managers. We were only seeing 1 node manager. The reason was this. So Delhi, Mumbai. Let's do it in so we restart Kolkata on all the machines. So let's start node manager here. So once you refresh, what you see is there are 3 healthy nodes, and eventually we'll be seeing 4. All 4 nodes are up and running, and that goes to show that our yarn is also 100% up and running. So as of this moment, we purchased, or we had a Windows box or a Mac box on which we purchased 4 Amazon machines, and on those 4 Amazon machines we've successfully downloaded Java, MySQL, wget, Hadoop, and on all 4 machines we have set up Delhi as the name node. We've set up resource manager as Kolkata, and we have set up job history server as Chennai. Now quickly we are going to separate secondary name node. So instead of running secondary name node on Delhi, we will run secondary name node on Mumbai. Let's do that, and we will have a complete topology. So as of this very moment, the way our cluster looks like is Windows, Delhi, that's running name node, data node, node manager. Then we have Mumbai, that's running secondary name node. When it comes to the resource manager, that's on Kolkata, and the 4th one is job history server, and that's on Chennai. As of now, this is how our cluster looks like, and we have successfully set up the whole cluster. Now it's time to test the cluster and have a walkthrough of a cluster. We will do that in the next video. Thanks for watching this video, and see you in the next video.